Hello, Pat. How are you?
Good, Adam. How are you today, mate?
Very good, very good. Great to finally do this video and have a chat about your skills and welcome you to the business advice crew here. For everyone who's listening in, Pat is an accountant. He grew up in Coffs Harbour on the New South Wales coast. He was in a tradie family or blue collar and had various skills and jobs in that space and to the age of about 40 and then changed over to become an accountant and where he's been there for decades now, and he's a fellow at the I'm going to get it wrong. The
Institute of Public Accountants, mate.
fellow of the Institute of Public Accountants, and does a range of activities within the accounting space, not just bookkeeping and tax returns, but he does tax advisory and structures and a range of advisory capacities as an accountant. Is that more or less correct, Pat?
Yes, that's correct. Look, I do a full range of the accounting. I do from everything from the bookkeeping through to lifestyle accounting with and focused on tradies. You know, the lifestyle accounting is basically working out what you want out of your business and allowing it to happen. You know, and people have worked hard on that business. They put all their life and soul and sometimes all their savings into it. And the problem that I've seen is that people get there and, you know, if you're a first time starter up, you've got about a 90% chance of, some go bankrupt, but most of them within 5 years close their doors. So basically they walk away with, they go back and get a job, which is really the end of your dreams for most people. They don't ever recover from that. And, you know, you some get back up and keep going, but others go back and get the job and then they never realize their dream. So it's really about understanding, and really people talk about having a passion in their business, but the passion disappears when the money and the cash flow disappears. When you help them get back up and they've got plenty of money in the bank, they don't want to sell their business, the passion returns. So one of the things you're in business for is, fair enough, you might enjoy it, but you're doing it to make money. That's the main thing. And that's what I'm here to do, is to help people make money, price properly, have a good profit, and then enjoy a lifestyle out of the business while, you know, minimizing tax and keeping proper books and all that foundational stuff. But the stuff is where you need a good accountant who's going to put themselves out there and really give you good advice, because, you know, a lot of people don't like giving that advice. They don't want to make a mistake. And, you know.
Yeah, I understand. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey as an accountant? You changed careers at some point and you become an accountant. Like, tell us about that side of things and to where you are today.
All right. Well, I started out in the Navy in the marine engineering space. Left there after 6 years, bummed around for a while, worked in a few timber mills, metal fabrication, and then I got on the railway, basically welding for a few years, and then got into the bridge work, you know, fixing up the wooden bridges, you know, rough carpentry. Did that for 13 years, and then we did ourselves out of a job because all the wooden bridges couldn't handle the big trains. So we did ourselves out of a job and basically replaced the old wooden ones with steel and concrete. So we got a redundancy out of that. Best thing that happened to me. The sun was starting to affect me at 40. And part of that redundancy was actually learning how to retraining and become an accountant. I basically got into that. Probably the best bit of career advice I've ever had. I mean, the sarcastic old bloke at the high school when I was there, he said, "Oh, you thought about being a priest?" And I said, "Nah." He said, "Oh, well, you'll figure something out." So at 40, I had a midlife crisis. Got into accounting, but I bring to, you know, and what I've done is since I've been an accountant, I worked in public practice, management accountant, been a general manager of a roofing company, labour hire business, been in clubs. I was a financial controller at the Southport Workers Club, which is now Club CS.
Okay.
Southport, and I was then the general manager, made its first profit after 7 years decline as me as the CEO. And then, so I bring a lot of practical experience, you know, both sides, not just public practice, but management account. And then also what I learned, you know, in working out in the trades and that sort of thing, you know, in industry and that, it was, you know, done a lot of jobs, and it's all been good. I really enjoyed it. I love being out in the sun, but as I got a bit older, I had to get off the tools, and now I really enjoy the air conditioning office. I mean, I love air conditioning. It's one of the best things out. But yeah, so that's what I did, and I was told, "Oh, you're a blue collar worker. You'll never mount anything. You don't have. You should have started when you were 20, 30." And so I ignored all that. And most of those people that told me that, I've left them way behind. They're still just punching out tax returns down in Coffs Harbour. So,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah, isn't that interesting? And I know we've talked a lot about this with various guys in business advice who they've done their trade, they've worked for the man, and then they're going out on their own, and they're good at what they do, they're good at their craft, but they business skills, like they know how to invoice and deal with customers, but then the accounting seems to be a bit of a nebula because they haven't done it while they're on salary. So this is something that's come up quite a bit, and one of the components that turns up there is the structure to operate in. So I don't know. We should probably talk a little bit about that.
yeah, well, see, the thing is that risk is the main thing. I mean, the tax advantages of setting up a company or a trust or whatever, but you've got to be in the right one. You just don't look at a company from, oh, I've got to be in a company for tax planning. That's part of it, but the main part is to reduce your risk of losing your house and all that. But it's not only about of setting the company up and there's quite a lot of responsibilities you have to go through, and you can set up a company, but it's like having a car. You go out and buy a car that's got 7 years warranty on it. But if you haven't got your license, you don't know the road rules, you're not going to get very far in the car. And that's what people do. They go and buy the car, but they've got no license and, don't know the road rules. And that's what I do, when I set up, say, a company for someone. I take them right through everything, make sure that they're all settled in, nice and comfortable, off the P plates, and being able to drive the car, which is basically the company. It also, the other side of a company is that, sole trade is very risky. And a partnership, really the only thing you should be in a partnership with your wife, because she's probably going to take at least half the stuff anyhow. But you don't want a partnership if you're in with some other person, they can skip the country and you're left with holding the bag. A company, there's a lot of regulations around that stop that, and they can be held criminally liable for it. But you need to understand all your responsibilities. You do it right, and it'll protect your assets. You do it wrong, and the administrator can come in and you go for everything that you've got. So it's looking into the future of what you're going to do with the company. There's capital gains, there's retirement, there's actually, making sure you're set up that, with your payroll. Payroll is one of the biggest risks especially in the construction industry. It can be a shocker if you do it wrong. And so so that's one of the main things is getting people set up. And the thing is that what I see with a lot of people is that they grow, they start off and they start growing, and they plateau, and then they start to decline, and then they go down the slippery slope. And usually the slippery slope is when they start building up their ATO debt and can't pay it because their lifestyle, or they're not charging enough, or something like that. Someone's always beating them down. And that's what I teach people, is how to price for value, not for pricing for your competitors. One of my cardinal rules the tablets with the 10 commandments, is that one of my main ones is you never discount. And because that's the first way to go broke. So that's some of the things I do. And it's, and that's the part I like. I've got a team who does the bookkeeping and accounting and tax, but you've got to have a good foundation. So, it's really, it's like building a house, If you've got a sand foundation, it doesn't matter how good a house you be, and that's the same. If the advice isn't built on a good foundation, it's not really worth anything. So that's why I like to do it, because I know then the bookkeeping and accounting and tax is right, and then you can then build a business. Really, one of the things is if people take notice of my advice, they can basically sell their business in 5 years for Lotto-like figures.
Right, right. And I guess that's a big consideration, like exit planning.
Mm.
A lot of people do it retrospectively at the point when they want the business to be sold, and then there's a 2 year wait time. So I guess that's another service that you can offer guys who are looking for an exit plan. Like, how are they
That's
gonna sell
correct.
the business? Yep. And what is there anything else in there, like any
Well,
other
the thing is
services in the
that,
advisory?
yeah, I mean, when you first start out, you're usually a young tradie. You've worked for, as you said, you work for a boss. You go out on your own. You're a technician, okay? You might then go up to a supervisor. You got a couple of blokes working with you. Well, that's okay, but you're stuck there. To get to the next level, you don't need the skills so much, but you need the managerial skills, which is learning how to delegate and trust your workers. And there's certain things that you can do with that that makes that very, very easy. If you don't do it the right way and you can't let go of control, it's nearly impossible to be able to delegate properly. You've got to be racing out to the job, make sure it's correct. Then, when you employ a manager who looks after a sizable team that and some people only want to get to the manager level, and then that's fine. But then other people just want to be, the managing director of their company, and then you need more of the strategic skills. You still need the technical skills and the delegation and that as you go up, but the main one is the strategic skills, and then and it's knowing how to employ a proper manager, and those are the things that allow you to take the 3 levels up. And that's where most tradies get frustrated, is moving from a supervisor to a manager, and that's usually when you've got about 3 to 4 blokes, and you want to go, you want a couple of teams, and that you can't be in every place of it. So you've got to be a good manager, and you're basically doing the sales and organising the work. It is a transition from each one of those levels.
Right, right. And I guess that's different, a slightly different journey for each business as well.
Oh, that's right. I mean, there's a lot of people that have got different skills. They've got different confidence, but it's easy. It's easy to understand that when hiring people, firing people, there's a method I use which takes all that personal fear out of it. Anger. There's a whole lot of emotions there that are mixed up when you're going to try and fire someone.
It's tough.
It can be it can be tough, but I teach people how to do that, and it's actually the toughest job is actually hiring someone, but no one does it properly, and not many people fire very well as well. So you've got to know the technique on each one, and I've fired people, and they've come back to me, where I was working in a club once. It was a bowling club I was running. Fired the cleaner. A week later, they came down. They were my tax clients. They took me on as their.
Wow. Wow.
So when
That's
you do
incredible.
things like that, you don't take it personally.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Mm,
But yeah, that's right. Yeah, extracting the emotion and
mm,
communicating that they're valued as a person, but these are
yeah.
the circumstances. And it depends on the circumstances of the termination too, I guess. But yeah, look, that's brilliant. Look, one of the things I liked when we first were chatting was that some of the young accountants are still finding their feet and overly cautious, perhaps. And their interests are more aligned with playing it safe for their career rather than truly advocating for the man who's out on the tools, that's where that was something I really liked when we were first chatting, and just your reputation as well, like for being very honest and fair, but having that in mind. Yeah, I just wanted to mention that too in the
Yeah, and I mean,
conversation.
there's a line, Adam. There's a line, right?
Sure, absolutely.
Now,
Yep.
there's some accountants get very careless with it, and some people that look after their own tax will get very careless with that. But it's knowing where that line is, and that's one of my jobs, is to protect my clients from not going over that line. Because you go over that line, the ATO can be ruthless.
Sure.
But there's a lot of accountants that are a bit wary, and they stay way back from the line. And which you're missing out on a bit of stuff. And I mean, if you know your stuff, I mean, I've been an accountant now for 30 years, so that probably gives me age away.
I'm not an accountant, but I did the maths.
And the other thing is, I mean, this is why I'm still working, is that I really enjoy my job, and it gives me great pleasure to sort of see someone succeed. And and also my wife's told me I'm not allowed to retire because it'd give her the shits sitting at home with me all day. So it gives me a good social life, and and I mean, I've met some great people in my time doing this work. So and when someone succeeds, you can't get a better feeling.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, that's great, Pat. It's so good to talk, and welcome to the business advice
Thanks.
community. And I'll include all the links below. So if anyone has any questions, click on those links, and you can reach Pat. Probably website, LinkedIn. Where else can they find you online, Pat?
Oh,
Facebook, I guess.
that's the main thing is my website. If people want to have a chat with me, I mean, they're part of the group here. It's not you can either, go through the
Any
group,
of the links. Yeah,
or
yeah.
or you can book a consultation with me on my website. I fixed that up the other day. I changed from Google to Outlook, and someone said can't book it. So I got so
Okay,
get
yep.
that
There you go.
fixed
So
up.
that's working now.
Yeah. So I saw my website fella, and he sorted that out, told me what I had to do. So I, I'm not an expert in many fields, but business advisory, that's where I shine. So I honestly not sure how it works. So just click on the button on the website. It's up in the top right hand corner, and if people want to have a chat with me, I'm always happy to help people, give them a bit of a direction on where to go. If we continue working together, that's fine. If we don't, well, if I've helped them somewhere, I enjoy doing that as well. So it's not just,
Yeah. Yep.
uh, and that's
And
why
that's we've
that's why one
we've
of the,
also got the Oz Business Tax chat on Facebook, in the Facebook group, in the Business Advice Australia group. So that's the other place that they can find Pat in on the Business Advice Network. So that's for general questions about business and tax. We can field those questions there or anywhere in the group, really.
yeah. I've made a few comments in there, and
Yeah. Yep.
but the problem is you're in the chat there. It's good to get a bit of general stuff, but it's
Right.
it's good to find someone there and say I'd like to have a talk to them a bit more. And there's that it's that really general sort of thing about it where you really don't know the details, and
Mm.
when you get the full
Yep.
story, it's always a little bit different to what people
Yep.
public chat.
Yep.
And but yeah, look, I make a comment there occasionally when I feel I can help someone, and
And
it's
Facebook's great for those discussions, but yeah, it is very general and anyone can be answering. So that's one of the reasons we've got panelists in place so that the panelists have been vetted, they've got the experience, the qualifications, and so when they're answering the question, it's different to the average punter on Facebook saying, "I reckon this." So it's another level.
no,
But it's just the general conversations are good, but don't bet the farm on a Facebook comment. Go see Pat and book in an appointment. I
Hey,
guess that's the message.
that's the table of knowledge. I call that. We used to always get that in the club industry. You'd have four blokes there, and they'd be sipping their beer, and they could tell you every bit of legal, accounting, handling advice, anything you wanted to know. They could tell you, and probably never done really much in their life, but they could everything from
Certainly got
right
an
to
opinion
good.
on it.
But yeah, that was the table of knowledge.
Yeah, that's right. You need to be careful where you get your advice from.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's good to get a bit of general advice, and they're really good for that because I mean, you got a bit of sarcasm and and all that sort of stuff coming into it, and blokes being funny and that. So you got to pick your way through it and find the little gems, and that usually gets you on a bit of the track, and you find where to go, and you think, oh, this bloke's being serious, so you take notice of that, and it's a little bit of a pathway to find the truth. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that you
but I mean, also too, that's part of being in business. You gotta find out what's right and what's wrong, and if you know,
absolutely, yeah. And there's a multitude of counsel in the group, like so you can. That's the beautiful like part of that is that collective thing, and it's the camaraderie, the banter, and that's part of the business advice, seeing the fireside, like that's supporting brothers in arms and all of that, which is great generally, but that can't replace specific professional, direct, personalized advice. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's great. Yes, I've got to agree with you there.
yep. Fantastic. Well, great chatting, Pat. Welcome to the group. And if anyone's got any questions, reach out.
Thank you, Adam. Really appreciate it, mate.